Through the process of this project, we chose the pieces Dark Waters and Tapestries of Browns and Greens, and what we've noticed is, although they're very different pieces, they come together to address your experiences in nature and how you empower yourself, others, and how to empower nature in today's society.
Dark Waters is an interesting piece by Komunyakaa that depicts what can come from growing up in and experience an unfortunate environmental situation. Komunyakaa comments on our American society by saying, sooner or later, our cultivated attitudes force all of us to pay our dues, and our fears become our worst enemies. We need to trust each other, otherwise the mental health of our society wears to a fragile state. He is speaking from experience about how we must come together and learn to trust one another in order to further better our society and the environment around us. He furthers his point about the environment by saying, nature teaches us how to see ourselves within its greater domain. We can see our own reflections in every ritual, and we cannot wound Mother Nature without wounding ourselves. As a group, we thought it was interesting how he made such a direct connection to society and nature stemming from his upbringing in Bogalusa. Komunyakaa turns a negative experience into a positive activism and outlook. We asked Robert if he gained any positive experience from what could have been a negative experience in Afghanistan.
The positive experience I gained was having a moment that revealed what the environment was like without human interference. This experience was such a strong juxtaposition from the loud and disruptive aspects of war to a moment of complete stillness and silence out in the desert at night with just a cloudless sky. And that moment provided clarity that I would bet few people have experienced, and it showed the difference between a post-industrialized society with, I want to say like cities and all those living things, and Afghanistan lacked all that. There was barely even electricity there. So just to experience those things just revealed how the environment is in some parts of the world and how societies influence them.
We appreciated Robert's connection to Komunyakaa and the fact that society and nature are interrelated and how they both can influence each other. The author of Tapestries of Browns and Greens, Nadkarni, grew up with two very different religious backgrounds, Hinduism and Judaism. Her parents had always done an incredible job of blending both these faiths for their children. However, sometimes it got confusing for Nadkarni, and she quotes in her story, "In my childhood, I saw trees as my protectors, my refuge from the periodically confusing and chaotic atmosphere of our family." Nadkarni is constantly connecting her family to her relationship with nature, and in quoting a time with her dad, she says, "I like to pat the soil in the handprints that he had laid down. His big handprints surrounded my little ones in the dark soil beside the slender brown trunk that upheld the plant limbs, so like mine, ready to grow." We decided to ask group member Will Martell if he connected with this story in any way.
In Tapestries of Browns and Greens, Nadkarni's outlook on nature is very much influenced by her family and upbringing. Did you have any similar experiences or circumstances that influenced you in your relationship with the environment?
Yeah, so when I was little, me and my dad would sometimes sit in our kind of sunroom at night with some candles lit and listen to very soft music, whether it be piano or sounds of nature, Coldplay, whatever it was. We would just sit there. Very relaxing, and I think that really carried out to make me appreciate just the silence and peace of nature and how valuable it can be. So just those little moments when I was young that kind of carry over now.
Nadkarni commonly relates back to this metaphor of a tapestry and how it not only reflects her upbringing, but also how she aligns it as her inspiration. She quotes, "I now see nature as a precious and multicolored tapestry, which has made me mindful about protecting its intricate patterns from raveling, fading, and vanishing."
Did Tapestries of Browns and Greens resonate with you in any personal way?
Yes, very much so, especially since she talks a lot about how she used to plant with her dad and how that was a fun and good experience for her. And kind of like how I said earlier, those experiences when I had in my sunroom of just having silence and peace and listening to nature and sometimes even just being outside, to this day, I will go outside when I'm just stressed out and just kind of sit down and kind of just separate everything and organize everything, kind of in the same way that she relates to all of her jumbled opinions to a tapestry. Kind of that organization of your surrounding and your environment. It's something I definitely do today that kind of relates to the piece.
Playing off of this theme of empowerment and activism that both Komunyakaa and Nadkarni show, we studied a secondary source that comments on building this empowerment and activism from a young age. Teori writes about why Dr. Seuss and his work, The Lorax, are such a significant example. Teori quotes, "Seuss's work compelled everyday people to love nature and act on its behalf." Seuss, on the other hand, appealed to a larger and potentially more influential group of little individuals, children. Not only did he aim the Lorax at child readers, but also he prodded them to acquire ecological awareness and engage in a personal activism. Group member Betsy Gregg comments on and analyzes this idea.
Our secondary source focused on Dr. Seuss's The Lorax and the influence it had on environmental activism. Unlike a lot of sources before him, he shifted the focus to children with his playful rhymes and bright colored pictures, and it was a thing that a lot of people hadn't thought to do before, because they really are the next generation that can cause a lot of change. And we see that again with our sources from the book that we use. With Nadkarni, you look at her childhood and the influences of spending time in nature and her background and her religious background as well as her ethnic background, and they really influenced how she wanted to be a caretaker and an activist for nature later on in life. In Dark Waters, his childhood in Bogalusa influenced his relationship with nature and also his essay. Both of these are two prime examples of how reaching children at a young age can really help support environmental activism, which is exactly what Dr. Seuss was trying to get at.
In conclusion, Dark Waters and Tapestries of Browns and Greens show how different experiences during the prime developmental stages of childhood can lead to an empowerment of ourselves, those around us, and nature itself. Teori confirms this with his study of the Lorax by analyzing how Dr. Seuss invokes ecologically stimulating thoughts in children in order to build up a more positive future.